is my guitar that I'm playing today. It was originally an Epi Gibby model. Shout out Riggs' dad from back in the day. It was a Tom DeLonge signature. Tom was right about aliens for anyone that's keeping track. It was this brown with like a really nasty brown with this cream pinstripe, and it was gross. The pickup I switched out. It was a humbucker in there, and I swapped out a P90 that fits into a humbucker slot. The headstock, it was that oversized Epiphone one that came on all like the mid-grade Epiphones forever. I think it maybe still does. My good friend Dan Sullivan over at Novillis Guitars, which you guys have a few in the shop. He makes really great stuff. He's a good friend. I dropped it with him over the summer, went on vacation. I said, I hate this, I love this guitar, but I hate this headstock. And I never play it because of this headstock. So when I came back, he had cut it into the traditional Gibson shape, and then matched the paint for the rest of the body, just matte black. So I bought this amp over once or twice, a couple times, when I've had to make some money and then have some money. So this is a Vox AC15 hand wired, and it's just such a nice sound, and it breaks up really nice. This is my desert island amp. I would take this anywhere, play any gig with it. It's 15 watts, you can crank it. It's dimed. It just barely gets over the drums. So other shows and other recording environments, I mix and match sometimes, but for this one I was like, I gotta bring this amp. It's my favorite sounding amp for sure. Pedal wise, the only interesting thing about this tuner is that I've had it since 7th grade. It's always worked, it's never broken. This is the JHS VCR pedal that was like recalled and announced and then taken back due to some drama for the artist, but it's a volume, it's a chorus, it's a reverb. You can turn any of them on, dial in however much of it you like. You can have all of them on. I just use it for a chorus, just to add some color and some specific parts. This Boss EQ, again, I've had since 7th grade. I've had 100 different distortion pedals, overdrives over the years. This is the one I always go back to. I always have it on my board. I can dial in sort of that, Nirvana Live at Reading sound, some Queens of the Stone Age vibes if I want to, and I always just have it on. It's the one I always go back to. This is the Earthquaker transmitter pedal, which my bandmate Mike always calls the Godflesh pedal. It's like a oscillator, reverb, decay, delay, there's some chorus in there. I don't even know what all these knobs do other than it just makes a crazy sound and I only have to hit one note. This last one is the ambient Ernie Ball delay expression pedal. You can dial in a super long one and add some reverb into it. I have it set for just a quick slapback. What's cool about the setup in this is a lot of times when I'm singing and playing at the same time, I don't want to have to be thinking about clicking something on really quick or clicking it off, so I can just sort of set my foot here, and when you press down on it, it's totally wet, and it's that slapback delay sound, and then when you rock it back, it's dry. So I've been riffing, dry, wet, and it's really functional for that purpose. And yeah, gear's the best. I love gear. This is a 2012 Gibson Les Paul Special. My dad, his first guitar when he was starting out, his dad, my grandpa, put a guitar in his hand when he was 9 or 10, so early 60s, was a Les Paul Melody Maker that was this colorway. It was a Sunburst, and there's pictures of him with it, and it's long gone. But when he was sick and in hospice care, my father-in-law got me this guitar for Christmas because he had heard the story and I talked about it a little bit. I don't know how heavy we can get here, but my dad was in hospice care and really wasn't responding, really wasn't conscious. But I got this guitar from my father-in-law for Christmas, and I came home to where he was in hospice care, and I showed it to him, and he opened his eyes and smiled. So, this is just like one of the most special guitars to me, and it's a memory that I'll always cherish. But I gutted it, and I ripped out all the knobs, and I turned it into just a single volume knob. for the both pickups. I swapped out this bridge pickup to a Lawler mini humbucker, which is awesome sounding, and Lawler makes fantastic stuff. But I happened to be at a show at the Salt Shed, and I saw this sticker just sort of around out in the lobby, and I grabbed it. I thought it was a cool sticker. I thought my kids would like it. I took it home, and I was like, oh, I want to cover up these holes where the other volume knob and the two tone knobs were. So I tossed it on there, and it fit perfect. And then I became friends with the folks here at FRET12 who do these awesome videos, and realized that it was their logo and string thing. So they did not pay me to have this on here, although I am getting free pizza and beer today. So awesome guitar.
My name is Mike Lust. I am the bass player for ILLS. A lot of the stuff isn't my stuff. I'm kind of one of those freeloaders, as you say. I'm a solo artist. I'm a recording engineer. I'm a producer. I'm a guitar player. I'm not really a bass player. So, being in a context like this, I usually have to borrow gear. We joke in ILLS that Pete's such a big guy, and he could play any guitar and look like a golden god, especially since he's been working out. I pick up a Fender P bass, which is like my bass of choice, and I just look like Danny DeVito holding a bass. So Pete's like, you know what? I've got this, and it just worked out right away, immediately, and it's awesome because you can play chords on it. You can play chords like it's a guitar. But this bass, Mustang, Pete, what year would you say this is? Early 2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. First of all, here's the pedal portion of the night right there. Just a tuner Velcroed to the corner of this amp. Keeping the signal chain as shortest as possible. Amp to pedal, pedal to bass. That's it. I gotta tune every now and again. But this amp is the secret weapon. I look for specific amps in the couple bands I play bass in where I want that gnarly shredder sound. It's usually trainers, be it solid state or tube, or Sons, being a solid state or tube. We kept fucking around at our band practices trying to find a bass sound that could just hold its own during our practices. And our drummer Jason, so he's like, I have this beta bass. Jason brought this amp by, and the second I played through it, I was like, all right, this is it. This is the sound of ILLS. I'm going to let Jason piggyback off this to talk about this amp. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, I'm Jason. I play drums in ILLS and Sweet Cobra, a few other bands. But so this amp that Mike was talking about, there was a period of time where I was basically acquiring, looking for any Sun Beta stuff that I could find. So I saw that someone in Gary, Indiana was selling this amp. So I hit the dude up. I didn't hear back for a while. Hit him up again. In the photos, the amp looked like fully trashed, like it was just in a pile of like a hoarder kind of situation. So eventually the dude responded and agreed to meet me at the Flying J truck stop in Gary. So I was like, all right, man. So I asked a buddy to come with me because it seemed so sketchy. A dude rolled up in like late 80s like Astro van, massive dude wearing like full duster, leather hat, had the bass in his amp, had the bass amp in his van, in his minivan, and had like a power adapter, and was like, hey man, like, you want to check this fucking thing out? And I was like, what do you mean? And he opened the van door and he had a bass, like, and he had it plugged in and was like playing this thing at the truck stop. This dude was shredding this insane like Ibanez bass in Gary at a truck stop. I got it for like $200, and hung out with the dude for a while, told him all my bands and shit. And it was great actually hanging out with this guy. He played bass in a bunch of local bands around Gary and stuff. So ended up getting the amp, and then of course, you know, the whole thing like had issues. So I took it in, had it fixed, and then had the guys in Emperor cabs like replace the speaker. And since then, it's been a great amp. But as Mike said, it really only does one thing. That's the story of the Beta bass. This kit is basically the most important piece. Is the kick drum to me. So when I was about 9 or 10, another similar crazy story that my dad more so experienced was he bought me this kit out of a newspaper called The Bargain Finder, which was another Northwest Indiana resale kind of thing. And so it's a 1960 kit. Again, it was just in some dude's basement. I was a little kid. My older brother was playing guitar, and I was like, I got to be in a band with my big brother Steve. So we would play like AC/DC and shit, you know, and I learned how to play on this 60s kit. Then I was taking it on tour and stuff with my old band Suicide Note. Really early Sweet Cobra, I was playing the full original kit, but it started getting a little trashed, so I ended up picking up a John Bonham kit that was probably 2005, 6, 7, where it was like a 26-inch kick, and then, you know, a rack, two floor toms. And so I started using that kit as is, but the 26 sounded a little weird, so I went back to using the original kick just because it sounds so good. It's pretty much been on every recording all of my bands have done. And so this is part of the original kit that I got when I was about to turn 10 years old, and these two are modern. Now my friend Dave Turnkrantz from Russian Circles, he and I were talking a lot about snares recently, so I kind of wanted to get into a bell brass snare, and he kind of brought me up to speed on you know, people that make copies of them. So this is basically like a copy of a Tama bell brass that he had originally gotten and didn't need anymore for tour, so I ended up grabbing this from him. Cymbals, pretty straightforward. Istanbul exist. I like the big dark 15 hats. This is a 22. It's got a nice dark sound. You can hit it pretty hard, and it's not harsh. This is a Dream Contact Crash, kind of similar in tone. Like after playing and recording for so many years, like I have like a certain thing about cymbals that if they're in a certain register, they just kind of stress me out. So I try to go for a darker cymbal vibe. And then the heads are just Remo Emperor coated, and that's about it.
ILLS came together pretty naturally. Mike has always recorded all of my bands and my solo stuff, and Jason and I got to know Jason when his bands were playing at the Empty Bottle, and my relationship to him was asking if they needed any more high lifes on stage, and that was sort of our running bit for a while. Like, yo, need anything? Mike Lust is, I heard somebody say this the other day, we were playing a show, and then somebody said, wow, that was pretty good. And somebody in the peripheral said, yeah, Mike Lust doesn't do anything bad. So to get Mike Lust to join a band with you is a very blessed thing. And I've always just been a fan of him as a person and a musician. And I came into the Empty Bottle crew sort of late game. These guys are all geezers over here, but I'm still relatively young. And so to break into the number one, the friendship scene, but then also the band scene, the goal, which without having a goal, was if we're gonna get together, it can't sound like one dude from Plants Exploder, one dude from Sweet Cobra, and the guy from Tight Phantoms, like having their own identities mixed in. You know, it just like ILLS just sounds like us, right? It doesn't sound like any part of Tight Phantoms. I don't think it sounds like any part of Planets Exploder or Sweet Cobra, really. So that was the sort of the unspoken goal, and it came together. The original goal was just let's write and record one song every time we practice. And 4 years later, we got 4 songs.
But for me, the approach is also almost like this cool thing where It's like we don't overthink it. We get together, we jam. It kind of reminds me of like when I first started playing in bands, like that, just like fun magic of it, like wanting to hang out and like jam. And I mean that's kind of how I've always been in bands. So that's how Sweet Cobra operates, and other people I've done projects with. But this automatically felt like that to me too. So it kind of like seemed like we'd already been a band or something. The first few times we got together, I felt like. I grew up, like in Northwest Indiana, right outside of Chicago. Grew up coming to shows in Chicago.
Hanging out in vans in Gary, man.
Yeah, that's
your
right.
thing.
Hanging out in
Yeah.
vans. Originally, way back, my first band was called Failsafe. We were just a hardcore band from Northwest Indiana. Then that band kind of morphed into a band called Suicide Note, which was really active for a long time. And dudes I grew up playing with that I'm still close with. And that band, we started doing a lot of touring, and we were touring with a band that Tim Remus is in. So Sweet Cobra kind of started because like Remus and I were on tour together. We started Sweet Cobra early 2000s. That has had its own long history. And then somewhere in there, I started doing a little record label called Hawthorne Street Records. So put out stuff from Pelican, Life and Times, really just like friends that had projects going on that I knew were active in touring. And me and my friend John started that label. So I do still do that label. Sometimes I license stuff that's out of print. Did a project with a woman I worked with at the Field Museum a few years back called Rose Arc, which we had Alan Epley and from Shiner and the Life and Times like produce and record with us. But she and I played everything. She had a lot of these really cool songs, and we recorded that, put that out on my label, and then a few Sweet Cobra records, and then ILLS really was the next kind of thing as far as my history goes.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing in bands forever, but I was always really intimidated. I got my start working the door at the Empty Bottle many, many years ago. In my career, I should say, my professional life of running and opening music venues. And I was always super intimidated to really sort of like put anything out there until I thought it was worthy of the Empty Bottle stage. It's a very welcoming place, but it's, you got to know what you're doing, and you got to have some thought behind it and what you're putting up there, because it's a critical crowd, and
It's also like seeing your favorite bands play there.
Yeah,
that's like a part of it too.
It's a critical crowd, and it's a critical staff. It's a supportive environment too, for sure. But it's like I had been working there a few years, and then put a band together with a couple of buddies called Planets Exploder. That was sort of more in like that I don't know. We wanted to be Torch at the start, and I'd use my job to get us like gigs opening for Torch, which was like super fucked up. And like Steve and those dudes became buddies for sure over time. But at the start, it was like, oh, okay, like we kind of see what you guys are doing here. We eventually found our way a little bit more. The ILLS stuff, as Mike was saying, is just an extension. I'm always writing riffs. I'm always playing and trying to come up with something new. And Mike was the guy sitting in the control room at our studio that we still share. And I'd just get together with Mike, and I'd be like, I got this song, or I got this idea, let's lay it down. And sometimes, Jason would be the drummer that would come in and drum on it, or sometimes it would be any number of buddies. So that's kind of how.
Who's ever in the building?
Yeah, whoever was there, whoever was a better drummer than me to be able to actually lay a drum track down. So that's how I sort of came into my own from the actual band side, not just working in music side. Yeah.
I am a musician and recording engineer and record producer. I started out with a band called Luster King in the late 90s, and then I started recording records for everyone. Like the past 3 generations of music, I've been making Chicago bands, making records for Chicago bands, and in the meantime, just finding a little bit of time to make my own music. I feel like it's a manifesto to me. I feel like limitations, there's nothing more beautiful than limitations. And especially in the context of songwriting, you get to the point a lot quicker, and you kind of discover what you're going for through limitations. Too many options sounds like overwhelming and mind-bending to me. I just want it to be 2 minutes. I want to just fucking annihilate the world and start over again.
I mean, the 2-minute song thing also was like the first few that we did. We were like, oh, it's 2 minutes. Like there was like 3 that were all just that, and then you were like, yeah, they're 2 minutes, and I was like, oh, this is the thing, you know.
But I was
like
very.
It just felt natural though, and some of them feel longer to me. But
I feel like I was very protective about doing this for ourselves, and not being influenced by outside music, and not being like, oh, this is trendy now, let's add more part. Like, no, like let's just do what we're gonna do. Let's say what we're gonna do. Let's just fucking do it. I want to be in bands with people I love, people I actually know, and people I'm excited to be around. This is kind of a set of people that like I think we truly like love rolling up to practice.
oh yeah. That is a good point. That's key. Like to being, I've always played music with people that I love. Also, I think our whole like kind of friend group. And like, I was thinking about. We did this tour, Sweet Cobra did a tour with Electric Hawk and Bloodiest, where
Jesus.
it was like everyone.
I love
3 bands.
any story from that
We're
tour. I
all
love.
like best friends on this tour. And
Horrifying.
like, yeah, everyone was like, "Whoa!" Like we're gonna watch this unfold on, on the internet. But like, it really was like, yeah, it was totally insane because it was a lot of like really intense individuals.
But I think
all
that's
together.
That's
But it
something,
was like so fun. And we're like. I did a tour with Cloakroom and Russian Circles, like the European tour, and like it was really long. The accommodations were nice. It was a European tour, but like to your point, like I love all those dudes, and they're all really close friends. So I feel like I've also been lucky through all the bands I've been in. We're friends with everybody I've ever been in a band with, still close to them. So that is really, and if you look at those other bands that we've all been talking about that have been doing it for a while, like Pelican or Russian Circles, our friends bands, Young Widows, like they're all friends also, first and foremost, I feel like. But there's also practical stuff, just like, for me, like on a long European tour, I'm gonna try to not drink too much, like not get annihilated all the time, or just basic little things. But I think all of it comes down to like, being prepared for gear stuff, being flexible with gear stuff. But to Mike's point, it's like, I think being in bands with people you want to hang out with,
I think
having a nice band,
that helps. Yeah, the accommodations help for sure. I mean,
which is never the case.
I think having an idea of what you want out of it before you go into it is super huge. I mean, like I grew up, all I wanted to tour, all I wanted to do was be like, I'm gonna go on tour and I'm gonna like do this thing and it's gonna be real. And like I've been on 1 week-long tour and it was fucking miserable. Like for me, like it was like a high stress time in my life. I was getting married like a month later and there was all this like stuff going on, and I wasn't being healthy. I treated it like a week-long party, and by the end of it I was like, I'm never gonna tour again. And also too, I think like to your guys' points about like dude love fest and everything like that, like you got to know who you're getting in a van with for 10 hours. And this isn't to say that tour, like those people weren't right, but like if you're not comfortable enough to tell somebody that you're going to be in a van with for 10 hours a day, like I need my fucking space.
Yeah,
and like
right.
Don't talk to me, it's not personal, or like I'm
Yeah.
going to dip into my headphones or a book or something like that.
Yeah.
That's super important.
Because part of it is that it is not always fun the whole time. A lot of
sure.
it's not. You basically do this shit for 23 hours to play for usually less than an hour. So you have to want all those other components of it.
So we always track at Mike's studio, and we have a couple things up on Bandcamp that I hate the D word, but I would consider them demos at this point. Although they sound fucking rad, I'll just say that. I mean, going back to the sort of like the ethos of the band of like, almost like the first idea is the best idea, the first take was the best take, like type of thing. and keep that shit under 2
Yeah, there's
minutes.
like good energy.
Yeah, there's great energy. But we're going to be hitting the studio at Electrical Audio with Mike Engineering and producing in the next couple weeks to lay down like a proper 6-7 song EP. And then, you know, sky's the limit from there, I'd say.